So you've seen these people, Miss Oglesby? You've seen them? I'm not lying.
They are real.
They are. And they go into your workplace too. And they're sandbaggers. And they will leave. Sandbaggers mean that they will rely on you to do their work for them. So watch out for these people. They're yuck people. All right. Now, let me move this out of the way. And I want to start by talking about, y'all see my screen, hopefully. Basically, we're going to go over several different things. All right. One thing we're going to go over, I'm going to show you an overview of what Chapter 4 is. One, we're going to go over interest. We're going to go over, that goes in the trash can. We're going to go over simple interest. We're going to go over compound interest. And we're going to go over continuous interest. And that, I think, is in 4B. I think. 4C, we're talking about savings plans. That means retirement. In other words, you making monthly payments to a retirement plan, and what monthly payments to be able to retire with a certain amount of money. That's 4C. 4D, just remember, D stands for depression. That's where we talk about amortization. I can't even pronounce it. I think it's amortization. I don't know. I'm going to put it in quotation marks so that way I can misspell it. All right. Amortization. What is that? That is house payments, which is called a mortgage, car payments, and credit card payments. Now, why is it called depression? Because you might end up spending twice as much money on some of these because of what? The interest rate that you agree to. All right. Some people don't look at the contract before they sign it, and they end up paying twice as much money for a house or a car or a credit card. This right here is what they don't want you to know. The car dealers that come out and say they love you and they want to be your friend, they don't want to be your friend. They want to rip you off for everything you're worth. So with the credit cards, the house payments is not that. Banks cannot be predatory lenders. Okay? Does everybody know what a predatory lender is? Can somebody tell me what a predatory lender is? Okay, there was an old term for it, a non-politically correct term for it a long time ago in the 70s, mostly in the 70s, for a man that had his territory that used to loan out money at high interest rates. What was he called? What's the apex predator of the sea?
I have no idea.
What in the hell do y'all study in K through 12?
Loan shark, right?
Thank you. Who said that?
Curtis.
Curtis. I got to have, you're not lighting up, Curtis. Say
Hello?
something. Say your
Yeah.
ABCs. You're not lighting up. Oh,
Oh,
Mr.
sorry.
Massengale. He
Yeah.
just lit up. Okay. See, when you talk, Mr. Massengale, I'll show you this. When you talk, your little icon lights up. When you're not, of course, none of y'all are on video, so I can't see you're talking. I'm trying to tell you how this is when there's only one-way communication. Okay? When people don't have their video on, I can't see them. So I can't see you talk. So when you talk, your little icon lights up. And when you just say a little blurb like, yeah, it doesn't light up. So I don't know who says it. So I'm just showing y'all, what happens with one-way communication. Thank you, Mr. Massengale. Loan shark. And for those of you that don't know basic biology, the apex predator of the sea is called the shark. I swear. It's really sad. Y'all didn't know that was called wow. Anyway, a loan shark. What would a loan shark do? What does a loan shark do? He lets people borrow money at a high interest rate. Okay, what did I call the shark? An apex what? Predator. Predatory lending. What do you think that is? Loaning money at a what? High interest rate. Wow. What just happened, Miss Oglesby?
I have no clue.
You just went dark for a second and then
I know. No one else is in here.
Did the power turn off?
I don't think so. It looks like just to this room.
Oh my gosh. See, I'm telling you, these people, they go out, they reach out. The fingers of the weaned on a pickle people, they are long. Okay. 4E. 4E is something they don't want you to know about. Income tax. Do you know, what does rich people pay to the U.S. government? What I mean by rich people, anybody that makes more than $250,000 a year. Does anybody know what they pay? Anybody? Take a guess.
Nothing.
See, that's what the government wants you to be. They want you to be dumb as a rock. Nobody except Miss Gill, thank you, Miss Gill, answered that question. Do you know why? Y'all are all graduates of high school, and you do not know how much a person that makes $250,000 or more pays to the United States government. Almost, if you make over $250,000, you pay almost 40% of every dollar you make to the federal government. How many of you knew that? Keep them stupid. It's easier to control them. Almost 40% of every dollar you make. So if you make $1, if you're $250,000 or more bracket, for every dollar you make, you give Uncle Sam almost 40 cents. Actually, it's 39 cents, 39%. But you didn't know that. Just like you didn't know what a predatory lender was. A predatory lender is like this. You ever see these places that open up and they paint the front of their building yellow and red, and they call themselves check cashing places? That's a front for a predatory lender. They will cash your check, but you know how much they'll charge you to cash your check? Anywhere from $25 to $50 to cash your check. Okay, that's why. And why don't you cash your check at the bank? Because you're overdrawn at the bank. And for every dollar you're overdrawn, they take that out of the check that you cash. So these places open up that will charge you $25 to $50 to cash your check, so your bank won't take more of your money per paycheck. So that's why they open up these places. And then guess what they also do? They also loan you money on your paycheck or your car or your house. And what if you don't pay the payments? They take your car and they take your house. So that's called predatory lending. I bet you $1 I named at least 2 or 3 things that some of you are in high school or just graduated have never heard of. And you know what? That's really sad. Not because it's your fault. It's because they don't want you to know this stuff. All right, so let's talk about interest. Let's talk about interest. And of course, I don't know how much of you fit in that mold because you won't talk to me. So anybody want to volunteer any information on any stuff that you learned today? Just talking? Anybody? Of course not. All right, here are the 3. Y'all know this makes class rough when y'all don't talk. I appreciate it. Simple interest is the Walmart equation. X plus percentage X is equal to the total. The Walmart equation is X plus or minus percentage X, minus being discounts, plus meaning taxes or tips. Simple interest is pretty much you take the amount, you multiply the amount times the percent interest rate, and that's the total. That's simple interest. So we'll get into that in just a second. The second is called compound interest. Compound interest is A is equal to P times 1 plus R over N raised to the NT power. Now, I do not want you to go by your book here. Your book seems to think that y'all are really stupid, okay? Students in general. So they dummy down everything in your book. I'm showing you the way that everybody writes this formula. Your book divides it into 2 parts, and I don't agree with that. So do not, I'm going to put book out here. Do not go by your book with this formula. This is the way that 99% of the real world and academia does compound interest. Your book is not part of that 99%, so do not go by your book or the directions that they give you. This is called compound interest. P is equal to the principal. The principal is what you put in. So ever how much money you put into your savings account. This is usually with savings accounts. Excuse me. I got COVID. I didn't wear my mask yesterday in the parking lot. I got fussed at the Anderson campus for not wearing my mask in the parking lot. And I told them, I said, well, y'all just go ahead and fire me. I'm not wearing my mask in the parking lot. Because that is about the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. Okay, now what happened there, Miss Oglesby? Something happened.
I have no clue. No one else is like in this room with me, and it just turned back on.
Oh, the light?
Yeah.
Oh, you have a motion sensor. Look up in the corner. There's a little box with a little white screen on it. That's the motion sensor. It's somewhere in that room. It must be in the ceiling. If there's no activity, the light turns off. So whenever the light turns off, just wave your hands around like a crazy person, and the light will turn back on.
Okay.
All right. R is your interest rate. It's usually given to you in a percent, and you turn it into a what? A decimal. N is the number of times the bank or whoever you put your money with, number of times they calculate the interest. Now here's where you might hear some terms that you've never heard of. What do you think one time a year is called?
Yearly?
Well, it's not yearly. It starts with an A, but that you can use that.
Annually?
Annual.
Annually. Good job. I'm giving you the words that are used in the bank, industry, or the money, savings industry. Annually. Now I'm just giving you a couple, and that's the N is equal to 1. What about N is equal to 2? What's that called?
Biannually?
Not biannually, but it starts with an S.
I have no idea. I'm trying.
That's all right. Just don't get beat up after class, okay? Who was that? Was that Miss Gill?
Yes, sir.
Miss Gill, watch your back, because these people, they will go after you. Semi-annually. Now, why am I going over these words? How many of you are answering my questions? How many of you actually answered annually and semi-annual? You didn't know. Or you're sticking with I'm not going to talk to Hubert because the class does not want to talk to Hubert. One of those two. What about N is equal to 4 times a year? What do you think that's called? I'll give you a hint. It starts with a Q.
Quarterly?
Good job. Quarterly. Now I abbreviated that. Quarterly. You could spell it with a Q, or you could just put a quarter and then LY, quarterly. And the last one, what about if you calculate it 12 times a year? I'm running out of room. Monthly. Now you need to know those words: annually, semi-annually, quarterly, and monthly. And what about T? What do you think T is? Time in years. Now, why am I underlining years, and why am I highlighting it? Does anybody know why I'm highlighting and underlining years? Well, what if I say that you keep your money in the bank for 6 months? What would T be for 6 months?
.5.
Okay. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
0.5.
0.5, half a year. So write down under that, put 6 months is equal to 0.5 year. What does 4 months equal? Or 3 months, sorry. Or 4 months. 4 months would be a quarter. So you can't put, if the question says you leave your money in the bank for 6 months, you can't put T is equal to 6. You have to be in years. It's very important, because a standardized test will put 6 months in a heartbeat, and the student will put 6 in for T and get the whole problem wrong after they plugged in everything else correctly. Also, this is meant to be a calculator problem. This is not a problem you do by hand, unless you're Rain Man or unless you're gifted and talented, okay? And you may be gifted and talented if you could do that in your head, but I'm not, okay? Now, what about continuous interest? Well, continuous interest is used and it gives you about the same thing as compound interest, but the banks use it because it's not as much calculations. What is continuous interest? Continuous interest, I like to tell people, does anybody ever remember, I don't know if that's spelled right, does anybody remember a shampoo, a green shampoo called Prel? Anybody? I know I'm probably the oldest person in here. I know that. I'm comfortable. I'm confident with my age. You can actually go and pull it up. I'm going to show you what it look like. And they still sell it. They still sell it to this day. Prel. It's supposed to be along the lines of Pearl. You see, it's real. I'm going to show you an old picture. Used to come in a bottle like this, like that right there. And it used to be, and at that time, it was the first shampoo you could look through because it was clear, kind of like Crystal Pepsi. You know, you could see through it, and everybody went crazy over it. Well, right after that, they decided to add conditioner to it, and it was called Pert. It was between Prel and conditioner. It was Prel with conditioner, and it was called Pert. And there, oh well, Pert shampoo. There we go. And there it is, and that's sold today. There's the old packaging right there, Pert. And it was basically Prel with conditioner. And that is your formula for continuous interest, Pert. Let me go ahead and get Mr. Ramey, since he's here. I just saw him say that he was here. And we have perfect attendance this week. Yay! All right, so let's go back to our handy dandy. Continuous interest is A equal to Pert. Now you're going to remember that from now on because I just told you about Pert. Pert. Somebody else said something. You're welcome, Mr. Ramey. Okay, let me go back since y'all do at least, you know, talk to me in the chat. I'm going to start making this class mandatory video and mandatory talking. If a teacher can throw out students by yawning, then I'm going to make mandatory video and mandatory communication in my class. If you don't use your video and you don't talk, you fail the class. All right, P is equal to principal. E is a constant, like pi in your calculator. R is rate, interest rate, which you will be given as a percent, and you turn it into a decimal. And T is in years. And it will just about give you the same answer as compound interest. Be a little bit off, okay? Might be a few pennies with thousands and thousands and millions of dollars, it'll come up to be 25 bucks. I mean, it's not that big of a difference between continuous interest and compound interest. Now, those are the three things that we are going to be talking about. Simple interest. When do you use simple interest? Well, you use it, and I don't like to say this, usually with friends and family. Now, right after I tell you that, I'm going to give you the fourth rule of Hubert's life rules. Number one, I told you nothing is free. Number two, there's always one. Number three, you get out what you put in. Number four is this rule: never loan money to friends and family for more than a month. Because guess what? You're never going to see it again, or you're going to have a fight over it. What I mean? I'm talking about large sums of money. I'm not talking about 20 bucks and your family or friend will pay you when they get paid. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about anything over $100, $200, depending on what you think is a lot of money. Because what always happens with a friend or family, if they go into rough times, they're going to cover their house payment first, their car payment, their grocery bill, and their electric bill. And who's going to fall by the wayside? You. And you're not going to get paid. Okay, so I can tell you right now that most people use simple interest for a friend or family member, but I can tell you right now, that's the fourth rule of life. Never make a long-term or a big loan to a family member. Now, that's excluding your kids. Okay, now I've given money to my kids all the time. All right, that's give. I give them money. That's not loan. Okay? Now, when my son or daughter gets on their own, when they have a family or a career and they need money because they're trying to do this, that might be different, but I still probably won't ever see it again. But anyway, I'm talking about big loans to family members that are not your, mother, father, intermediate family members. Okay, you probably will never see that money again. But how do you do it? Well, my father he did not follow that rule at all. He did not follow that rule. And my father died with a lot of people owing him money. Okay. He would do this kind of thing. Yeah, I'll sell you that piece of property. I'll sell it to you for $10,000. And I will give you the property, and you pay payments based on 8% interest. And at the end of 5 years, you need to pay that property off. Okay? So what do? Well, you gotta talk about the time, all right? So 10,000, this is the Walmart equation, this will be simple interest. $10,000 plus 0.08 times 10,000 is equal to the total. Just like you would do taxes in the store. So I take my handy dandy calculator and I take 10,000, and y'all can move the decimal, times 0.08, and you can see that's going to be 800 bucks. Add that to the 10,000. And how many months are in 5 years? That means I want y'all to give me a number. How many months are in 5 years?
72.
I thought it was 60.
Oh, it
It's
is. Oh, it
60.
is.
Okay,
It's 60.
I think you were thinking of the right lines. Okay, divide that by 60. And that is a monthly payment of $180. Monthly payment of $180 a month. That's equal to 1080, $10,800, and you divide that by what do we say, 60 months, and that gives you $180. This is called simple interest. Okay, so this is given. We had to go back on 8 people after my father died. 8 people. And they had to get this taken care of. I gave them a year to get this up to date. And all of them did. But the whole point is, when things are bad, who is going to fall by the wayside as far as payments? Family and friends. That's who falls by the wayside. And this, I consider a chunk of money. This is not $25 to your next paycheck. So you got to use a little bit of context with the friends and families comment. How many of you, this requires interaction. How many of you have loaned a friend money before, or your brother or sister? Anybody?
Yes.
Okay, how much was it, Miss Ballou?
$100.
Okay, did you get it back?
Yes, I did.
Good job. Say that's $100. But I think Miss Ballou, if I came to you and you found out that I was your second and third cousin, and I came to you and I said, Miss Ballou, would you let me borrow $10,000? I bet Miss Ballou would, kind of cringe a little bit. Why? Well, I'm not going to say she don't have the money because I don't know her finances, but $10,000 is a chunk of change. And that is a liability, because if you give that money to somebody, you could be using it. Do you see what I'm saying? And if you could be using it, you need to charge somebody for that. And that's where the interest comes in. Does everybody understand simple interest? I've been using that. I've been using that example for I don't know how long. $180 a month. Okay. Compound interest. Let's say that your mother or your grandmother left you, or your grand aunt or whatever. I'm trying to give you this so if you ever come into a large amount of money, this is probably the first thing you should do. Grandmother left you, let's go with $15,000. The first thing you should do when you come into some money is put it in a savings account. Okay, now the redneck disorder way, what is the redneck disorder method of coming into a lot of money? What's the first thing you do? You head to the strip bar. That's what you do. You head to a strip bar, you buy a brand new truck, you put all the money in cash in the console of the truck, you get drunk at the strip bar, give away half your money, you go out to your truck, get beat up, and somebody takes the money and the truck, and you're out, $0. That's the redneck way to take care of $15,000. All right? So let's just exclude the redneck disorder. Let's just push that to the side. For those of you with a little bit of common sense, the first thing you should do is put it in the bank. Why? Because you need to figure out what to do with it. And it could be drawing some interest while you're figuring it out. So let's put it in the bank, and let's put it in a savings account. And let's put it in, the bank will like that $15,000 because they're going to invest it on paper. They're going to invest that $15,000 and make money off of it while it's sitting in the savings account. And I bet y'all didn't know that, did you? When you put money in a savings account or IRA, the bank is giving you a little bit of interest, but they're going to turn around and invest that $15,000 and make more money off of it than giving you interest. That's why bankers are usually rich, because they're making money off of, or banks, not bankers, but banks are rich because they're making money off of your $15,000 while sitting in the bank. All right. And I guarantee you some of y'all didn't know that. Same thing with insurance companies. They take your payment, they put it in investment, they invest it, and that's where they get their money to pay off claims in the insurance business. All right, savings. And we're going to put it in for 1 year. Let's make it 2 years, so you won't have a 1 sitting up there. And they're going to do it at 8% interest. And they want to keep that money in there, so they're going to tell you they're going to compound it quarterly. They're going to do quarterly at 8% interest. So A is equal to 15,000 times 1 plus 0.08 over 4 raised to the 2 times 4 power. And that's N, and that's R, and that's T. Okay, now get your handy dandy calculators out. Now I want y'all to take your calculators and go ahead and calculate this. Okay, those of you that have no idea what to do, just sit there. Those of you that think you can calculate it, go ahead and try it. I'll give you a minute because it shouldn't take more than a minute to do it. All right. Does anybody know what please excuse my dear Aunt Sally means? Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. So you always start with parentheses first. So I'm going to do inside the parentheses first. Now this is the way you should do this on a calculator. First of all, let me clear everything so y'all can see the keypad. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get everything in here, so we're just going to have to go with this. Clear and clear. All right, so 0.08 divided by, I'm just going to make it big so y'all can see the whole thing. 0.08 divided by 4 equals. And then I'm going to hit +2, +1 equals. And then I'm going to raise that to the 8th power. And then I'm going to multiply that by 15,000. That's the way you do this problem. So at the end of 2 years, after I figured out what I'm going to do with the money, I have raised the bank $17,574.89. Now, is that bad for doing absolutely nothing for 2 years? That's $1,000 a year, or at least $1,200 a year. That's not bad. So don't do the redneck thing. Please don't do that. Please don't take the $15,000 and go out and buy a brand new car, and then after the end of the 3 months, you have absolutely nothing. Okay? Think about it. Put it in the bank for a little bit. Figure out what to do. That's the sensible thing to do. Okay? That's simple interest. Compound interest. Now I've got 8 minutes, and I'm going to show you how to do continuous interest. Now, before I do, I want to show you where E is. Look over your natural log key. What does it say? E to the what? E to the X. That is your E key. So it'd be second natural log. So I'm going to clear everything. Clear and clear. Let's take that same 15,000 that your grandmother gave you. You got 15,000 is equal to P. R is equal to 0.08. And T is equal to 2. PERT. A is equal to PERT. P-E-R-T. So that's going to be 15,000 times E to the 0.08 times 2. Now, you don't have to use a calculator. What's 2 times 8 cents? 16 cents. So that's going to be 15,000 times E to the 0.16. And let's take our handy dandy calculator out. And that's going to be, 15,000 times second natural log 0.16. 17,602.66. So you're talking a little bit of difference. But again, $15,000, that's a chunk of money. All right. 17,574 against 17,602. So let's subtract that. I've got to find my calculator. 17,574.89. $27 difference. I told you 25. I gave you an example of $25. Usually with a big amount, it's going to be around 25. Of course, if that was 30,000, it would probably be close to double difference. Be around $54 difference. Okay? Or $50 difference. So that's your 3 examples of simple interest, compound interest, and continuous interest. Will you be tested on all 3? Yes. Will all 3 be on a standardized test? Yes. Any questions on those 3 examples of interest? Y'all ain't gonna ask a question anyway. I don't know why I'm asking y'all that.
Wait, I have one.
Oh, wow. What?
Okay, this may sound dumb, but so what exactly is the difference between compound and continuous?
There's really not a difference. It's just a preference. In other words, when you're programming a computer, would you want to put that many variables, or would you want to put a smaller amount of variables? Okay. there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got 5 different variables you have to plug in here to a program. If you use continuous interest, you only got 1, 2, 3. So you got half the calculation. You see what I'm saying? So it's more of a preference. It's more of a preference than anything.
Okay.
They just kind of streamline the formula. Now, I guarantee you, some of y'all learned something today that y'all have never known before. And that's good because you're going to do the problems for 4B and hopefully you'll learn something. Now, I'm just going to take the last 4 minutes of class. There's the principal, simple interest, compound interest. I'm just going over some things. I'm not going to go over the examples. See, that's why I don't want you to use the formula they give you, because they do 2 formulas. They do a formula for 1 year, and then they do a formula for other years. That's why I don't like, see, there's the other formula. And why give you 2 formulas when all you need to know is what? 1 formula. So ignore that. That's 1P, 1 plus R over N raised to the NT power. But they think y'all are stupid as students. So they put, instead of NT, they put NY because it's supposed to be years. They think that y'all are too stupid to figure that out. Not y'all in this class, but students that sign up for this class. They think y'all are just dumb as rocks. I don't like when books and publishing companies think students are stupid. Okay. Now, I haven't covered annual percentage yield. Hold on a second. There's compound interest continuous. A is equal to PER to the T. PE to the RT. So that's the same formula. That's it. So I've shown you all except for that annual percentage, which I don't really care about that. I might talk about it when we're going over homework problems. Okay, so that is 4B. And I'm just going over one thing for you. And that is this right here. And I'm just going over this as just a little summary. We've gone over 4B today. The first thing we went over was, budget, surplus, debt, that kind of thing. Expenses. I'm not going to go over that very much. So we just went over 4B. So Tuesday, when y'all come back, we'll start with 4C unless I get homework questions from 4B and 4A. Okay? Y'all have a good break, and I will see y'all Monday. Bye-bye.
Thank you. See you Monday.
Y'all be good.